The on here, so you can simply blend it.
Unless if there are a few things.
Opa. Estou. Phone number.
Speak. Order, Madam Speaker.
Good morning, honorable members. May we take this moment for a silent prayer or meditation.
Morning, Speaker.
Amen. Honorable members, with the recent tragedy that has befell KwaZulu-Natal province and other provinces of floods, wherein KwaZulu-Natal was the hardest hit, it was not only houses being washed away, places of work being flooded, infrastructure being severely damaged, but lives in the process were also lost. We must remember that importantly. And we must also, in noting those who have passed away as a result of the floods, so far 48 lives in the province of KwaZulu-Natal officially, we must also announce the passing away of the following people. Mrs. Thembi Mthembu, the wife of the late minister in the presidency, Mr. Jackson Mthembu. Princess Thembi Zulu Ndlovu, sister of the late King Goodwill Zwelithini Kabheki Zulu, and an aunt to the current king, Mrs. Zulu Kazwelithini. Miss Nandisa Chiliza, daughter to the Honorable Mr. M.A. Chiliza. Mrs. Christina Zondi, mother to Miss Nokulunga Zondi, a senior researcher of the Legislature. Miss Gwyneth Pendock, mother to Miss Margaret Clinton Parker, who's the manager in the office of the NCOP in this legislature. Our heroine, Sergeant Busisiwe Mjwaha, a Pietermaritzburg search and rescue police officer who drowned on Sunday, the 17th of April 2022, whilst on duty searching for flood victims at the Henley Dam. The police dog officer Lee from the Durban SAPS K9, who also drowned while searching for flood victims. Constable Thandazile Sithole, who was also attached to the Durban Central Police Station, who died when her home collapsed on her. Mr. Thabo Masebe, Acting Director General of the Gauteng Province. Mr. Mfundo Mukwena, a leader of the ANC Youth League in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Once more, all those that have passed away as a result of the floods in the province, including those that are not yet officially registered, and the souls who may have departed from us untimely either due to COVID-19 or through natural and other unnatural causes, including all road fatality victims over the Easter weekend. It is on this note that I would request the House to rise and observe a moment of silence to honor and pray for all these departed souls. Wanga uThixo wabo angabapha ukuphumla okungenaphakade. Honorable members, we will continue with the announcements, which is item 3 on the order paper. The first one is the announcement that we have to make before we proceed on a matter that is on the order paper for today. Honorable members, the Premier has written to the Speaker requesting that he be allowed to make an executive statement to this House in terms of Rule 112 on the recent flood incident in the province. Due to the severity and seriousness of these incidents, it is imperative that we as a legislature and other spheres of government jointly deal with the unfortunate disaster that has left our people in most part of the province in disarray. It is in this light that the Executive Council through the Premier is allowed to address the legislature on the mechanisms that they have and the plan to undertake in order to assist the people of KwaZulu-Natal in dealing with their human and material losses. Honorable members of the House, I trust that the above is in order. Also, honorable members, we have to announce a new member of the family of KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. As a result of the resignation of Ms. Mtuli from the DA, we have subsequently had a replacement by the name of Honorable Malane Nye, who was sworn in on the 5th of April 2022. If the Honorable Nye is on the virtual platform, I will request that she switches her video on for 10 seconds so that the members may be able to see her. Thank you, Honorable Nye. This is the new member of the House. You are welcome. Honorable members, will move on to apologies. At this time, we have not received any apologies. With that said, we will move on to the announcements or reports by the Premier. Honorable Premier, I give you the opportunity to make your announcements.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we will not have announcements, but we'll include them in the statement that we'll make later. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. At this moment, we will move to the next item. Item number 5 on the order paper, formal motions or notices by the Chief Whip. Honorable Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we want to move a motion or a resolution of the House concerning the suspension of Rule 112, 5 and 6. This motion is a motion without notice, moved under Standing Rule 105, 1G, with the unanimous concurrence of all the members present in the House. The presiding officer is requested to put the motion to the vote for approval as the resolution of the House under Standing Rule 103(2). Noting that the recent floods that have affected KwaZulu-Natal and unprecedented devastation that it has caused in the province, resulting in the loss of life and damage to property and infrastructure. Today's special sitting has been arranged to allow the Premier to present an executive statement to the Legislature on the state of disaster and the government's intervention efforts in this regard, and to allow parties to express their views on the Premier's statement. Due to the seriousness of the matter and the magnitude of the impact of the disaster on the province, it is critical that the matter be discussed fully and that all parties be given adequate time to debate the report and to present their views on the matter. Rule 125, however, states that, I quote, following any executive statement and at a time arranged by the Chief Whip, after consultation with the whips, a member or members of each party may comment on the executive statement for not more than 3 minutes per party. Rule 112(6) further states that the response of the Premier or the MEC who made the executive statement may not exceed 5 minutes. Due to the nature and the seriousness of the matter under discussion today, it has been expressed that the speaking time of 3 minutes for each party and the response time of 5 minutes for the Premier is wholly inadequate, and it has been requested that additional time be granted. Rule 4 provides that any provision of these rules relating to the business of the House or of a committee may be suspended by a resolution of the House. It is therefore necessary that standing rules 112(5) and 6 be suspended in order that parties not be limited to speaking times of 3 minutes per party, and the Premier not be limited to a response time of 5 minutes, and the Chief Whip may, in accordance with Rule 19(1)(e), arrange an appropriate time span for the debate. This House therefore resolves to suspend Rule 112(5) and 6 for the purposes of today's debate. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip, for the motion without notice, understanding Rule 105(1)(g). May I now check the House for concurrence as per Standing Rule 105(1)(g), stated above. I will do this going party by party, honorable members. I will start with Inkatha Freedom Party. Do you concur?
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Premier, the Honorable Leader of the Official Opposition, and Honorable Members, the IFP supports the motion as presented by the Honorable Chief Whip of the Legislature. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kwala. On behalf of Inkatha Freedom Party, we'll go to the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The DA support the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Mwango. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, the Economic Freedom Fighters. Economic Freedom Fighters. I have not received their apology, but Yes, I'm raising to the members of the EFF who may be on the virtual platform. Do you concur to the motion without notice?
Honorable Speaker, the EFF is supporting the motion. Thank you.
I cannot see this person who's speaking on behalf of the economic freedom fighters.
Dlamini Nomvielelo, Speaker.
Honorable Dlamini, you know that you also have to show your face.
Oh. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The EFF concur with the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini, on behalf of the economic freedom fighters, the National Freedom Party.
Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the National Freedom Party supports the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Shinga, on behalf of the National Freedom Party, the Minority Front.
Honorable Speaker, the Minority Front supports the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Thakur Rajbansi, on behalf of the Minority Front, the African Christian Democratic Party.
Thank you, Speaker. As ACDP, we also support the motion.
We haven't seen the face of the bishop.
But on my side, Speaker, I've done all what I can do. I don't know what's the problem.
I can't hear the honorable member. Honorable Whip of Minorities.
Yes, Speaker, I say I have muted everything on my side, including the camera. I should have been seen. I don't know what is the problem. But I do support the motion.
Whilst we cannot see, we can confirm the authenticity of the voice, but we will speak to the Deputy Speaker about further skills to members. The ATM.
Madam Speaker, the ATM supports the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Pakati, on behalf of the ATM. The ANC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The African National Congress supports the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip Kaluza. Honorable members, that then concludes the voting on the motion without notice by the Chief Whip. And the House has unanimously resolved to suspend Rule 1, 1, 2, 5, and 6 for purposes of today, without creating any precedents. We now will proceed to the order of the day, which is the executive statement by the Premier on the flood disaster that befell KwaZulu-Natal on the weekend. The debate, honorable members, is going to be 60 minutes, and the response by the Premier is going to be 10 minutes, in accordance with what has been agreed by the Whips Forum. I now hand over to the Honorable S. Zigalala, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, to brief us. Premier.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition, of the official opposition, Chief Whip, all members of this House. Honorable Speaker, I've requested the Speaker to convene this special sitting of this August House of the people of KwaZulu-Natal to give account on the devastating floods which wreaked havoc, killed hundreds of people, destroyed properties, and left multitude homeless and in pain. While we have accounted to the people of the province and South Africa through various platforms, we have not had an opportunity to account to the legislature. Hence, we seek to do so in this session. We remain a wounded province and a bleeding nation. While death is an integral part of life, humanity is still not accustomed to accepting death as an inevitable part of nature. In this regard, our sense of loss is underlined by its suddenness and colossal nature. Once again, on behalf of the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal, we wish to convey our deepest sorrow to individuals and families who lost their loved ones during floods. We pray that in time, our faithful God will comfort them and heal their wounds. We also pledge our solidarity with those who have lost their homes and properties. We cannot imagine the frustration and anxiety of those who have lost their businesses and source of incomes due to flood. The recent floods brought back the terrible memories of the devastating floods we experienced 35 years ago in 1987. Only those in denial will reject the clear indication that our province has for a number of years shown signs of vulnerability due to climate change and global warming. This, or the tragic loss of life and property and disruption of life, must galvanize all of us to treat climate change as a national and a provincial emergency. Honorable Speaker, we also wish to thank the province's emergency and rescue services who have worked tirelessly to save lives. The trail of devastation caused by flooding call for a collective response from all sectors of society. This is time to come together as a nation and offer assistance to those in desperate need of care and support. We can report to this House that on the 8th of April, the South African Weather Services issued an early warning whereby disruptive rainfalls was to be expected in various parts of the province, which was due to a cut low pressure system. Early warnings were sent to all districts and key stakeholders to ensure that we raise the awareness of the public. Honorable Speaker, from the 8th to the 13th of April, KwaZulu-Natal experienced prolonged heavy rainfall, which resulted in flooding, mudslides, and structural breakdown in coastal areas of the province. The average rainfall was estimated at 300 megaliters over 24 hours. All districts, including eThekwini, have been affected. According to a reported incident, the worst affected municipalities were eThekwini, Ugu, King Cetshwayo, Ilembe, and Umgungundlovu. By yesterday, at least 448 people were confirmed to have lost their lives. As of 18 April, no less than 16,672 households, no less than 116,708 people were affected, and no fewer than 72 were reported as missing persons. We've learned that 5,119 were reported to have become homeless and 35 were injured. A total of 8,807 houses were partially damaged. The continued inclement weather had an adverse impact and affected the pace of response and recovery measures. Honorable Speaker, Besides this, the infrastructure was hugely damaged. This includes roads, it includes schools, it includes also electricity, water, but also health facilities. On the 13th of April, 2022, as tragedy was unfolding, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa declared the provincial state of disaster. This was after the president had led a government team to visit the true extent, or to witness rather, the true extent of the devastation and to pay respect to those who have lost their loved ones. On Sunday, we addressed our nation and the people of KwaZulu-Natal and indicated that our assessment indicates that our country is faced with a national state of disaster. We appealed to national government to revisit its initial classification and for more resources to be made available to deal with this catastrophe. We can report to this House that having assessed the magnitude and the severity of the damage in various areas within the province, the KwaZulu-Natal was declared as affected by the state of the national disaster. Formally, we can report that the classification is to formally determine that a disaster exists, assign primary responsibility to national sphere in support of affected spheres for coordination and management of the disaster, strengthen implementation of disaster risk reduction measures, enable reallocation of funds from existing applicable grant to augment the resources for intervention measures. Honorable Speaker, the President addressed our nation on the 18th and announced that KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, and parts of Western Cape were affected and declared as a national state of disaster. We have issued a statement welcoming the announcement by the President. As the President highlighted, nearly 4,000 homes have been completely destroyed and over 8,300 homes have been partially destroyed. The President was clear that our government was going to intervene in 3 ways, but all of that must be understood in the context of the district development model. The first intervention is focused on immediate humanitarian relief and ensuring that all affected persons are safe and that their basic needs are met. Focus on stabilization and recovery, rehousing people who have lost homes, and restoring the provision of services. Finally, or the third, focus on reconstruction and building. Honorable Speaker, it is clear that South Africans from all walks of life are tired of corruption and theft of resources meant for the public and the poor. It is still fresh in our memories how some monies earmarked to fight COVID-19 ended up lining up pockets of corrupt individuals. We agree with all South Africans that there must be no tolerance to misappropriation of public funds. It is because of that reason that we have employed all measures to ensure transparency and accountability in this regard. We have also been in touch with the Office of the Public Protector, the Human Rights Commission, that they are going to ensure proactive assessment and monitoring to ensure that all funds meant for this intervention are not abused. As we set out to mobilize resources to support the people of KwaZulu-Natal, we seek to put in place several measures to ensure that we protect the funds. This includes that we will ensure that all emergency procurement of supply and services is fair, transparent, competitive, and cost-effective. We're going to tighten our control and mechanism against improper conduct. The minister in the presidency, through the monitoring and evaluation, as well as the Auditor General, will be working together to ensure that the commitment on relief and rebuilding the damage is provided in a transparent manner. We can also indicate that the Office of the AG will work closely with all departments to ensure that the resources are utilized effectively. The National Prosecuting Authority, South African Revenue Services and Hawks have been strengthened to investigate and prosecute crime of corruption. Honorable Speaker, the eyes of the world are on KwaZulu-Natal. This is time for all of us across political lines to work as a team and to prioritize the victims of these floods. In this regard, we wish to commend the work that has already started and being done by all political parties in mobilizing humanitarian aid and relief for the destitute and needy. As we speak, humanitarian assistance in the form of food, water, shelter, sanitation, clothing, and blanket is being provided. We continue to evacuate affected residents to community facilities such as schools and halls. Though schools are no longer used for this purpose, we have also the South African National Defence Force, which is also assisting in this regard. We want to take this opportunity, honorable members, to call for impatience, calm, and understanding. We wish to use all resources at the disposal of the state to ensure meaningful and maximum impact in uplifting those who have been affected. We also call that all of us should prioritize health and safety. We call on the people of KwaZulu-Natal to take action to protect themselves and their families from waterborne diseases. We all know that practicing safety hygiene can help us prevent contracting waterborne diseases. We plead with parents and guidance not to allow children to wade in flood waters. We caution people not to eat food exposed to flood waters. We are pleased to report that the Department of Social Development has deployed about 337 social service professionals across the affected areas. That the trauma task teams are assisting with the psychosocial support in affected districts. The South African Social Security Agency is providing the relief. That the cash for individuals affected have been increased from 700 to 1,960. That the province has adopted a policy that will allow us to assist in conducting the funerals of various individuals who have passed on. We wish to thank, in particular, the donations that we have received, such as the AFPOP, which donated or pledged to conduct funerals of about 150 people. We want also to thank eThekwini that have announced that it will also ensure that all individuals who passed on are also buried, and it will contribute. We wish to thank the donation from Motsipe Foundation that will go a long way in intervention, especially the provision of humanitarian support. May I take this opportunity to further thank provinces that have provided support during this time, that include Northwest, Free State, Western Cape, and Limpopo. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, our province has gone through challenging times. We have been through COVID-19 pandemic, HIV and TB epidemic, the July unrest, and now the devastating floods. We remain a resilient and unbroken people in the face of death. This is our moment to seize the day and work together for all people of KwaZulu-Natal. This disaster must bring us more together and remind us that we belong to each other. The eyes of our country and the glares of the world is upon us. I have no doubt that we will not fail our country and not fail the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Let's work together and grow KwaZulu-Natal. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Honorable members, we'll now start the debate by members of the House. And for 8 minutes, I will call upon the Honorable MP Nkonyeni, the MEC for Transport, Community Safety and Liaison, on behalf of the ANC. Honorable Nkonyeni.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable members of the Provincial Executive Council, Honorable members of the House, I rise to echo the words and sentiments that have just been shared by our Honorable Premier, that indeed we have witnessed in our province a very, very painful moment and indeed a very tragic moment. Honorable members, let me start off by expressing our heartfelt condolences to all bereaved families who lost their loved ones as a result of the devastating floods. We know that some of our police officers perished with their boots on while they were trying to rescue some of the community members who have disappeared, and they were assisting them. I'm referring to the likes of Sergeant Mchare from Pietermaritzburg Search and Rescue Police diving unit, who drowned while trying to save lives. There were also officers whose homes collapsed together with their family members, and we are saying may their souls rest in eternal peace. The law enforcement community is indeed very, very much devastated. And I also wish speedy recovery to all injured law enforcement members who are in the process of rescuing our people out there. Honorable Speaker, those of us who were on the ground since the first day, commanded by the Honorable Premier, could not hold back tears during the interface as well as interactive sessions with the victims of the recent floods. We extend our appreciation to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, for having declared this tragedy as a national disaster. This is very important as we seek to pick up the pieces, as it were, rebuild and reconstruct our province. The executive statement that our Premier has just presented here is a recorded testimony to the government that is committed and rooted to and amongst the masses of our people, and that indeed we are a provincial government and a national government working together with our municipalities. We are in touch with our people, and we also mourn with our people when during their moments of distraught. Honorable members, the road infrastructure network was hardest hit during these floods, and most roads, both gravel and blacktop roads and bridges, were severely affected, and most of them were washed away, especially the low-lying bridges that were built through the material which is referred to as AMCO pipes that we are in a process of actually replacing. Most unfortunately, some of them completely collapsed and some are showing signs of failing. This happens within the context of all of us dealing with the impact of dealing with the 2021 rainfall that also affected many parts of our province, especially in the Midlands. The weather patterns are really impacting negatively to the already aging infrastructure, as most roads have reached their lifespan and require ongoing rehabilitation. Again, early this year, the province also experienced localized floods, which resulted to serious damages to areas such as R74, KwaMaphumulo, and M17, Pietermaritzburg, which has some sections still closed because of sinkholes. The department has finalized the appointment of service providers to work on the repairs of those roads. The Umdloti Bridge and Ndwedwe, where a contractor had failed to do the work and abandoned the site, has been prioritized, and the contractor is starting in May 2022. Most of the time, when we terminate their contracts, Honorable Speaker, they take us to court. And then if a matter is in court, you'll have to wait until the matter is finalized in court. But we are moving forward, Honorable Speaker. The most affected roads in the recent floods are in eThekwini, Elembe, Ugu, Kingce, and Kingcetshwayo mostly. And some roads are unsafe to use, and some have been reduced to single lanes in order to allow for the traffic to flow. But we are very much alive to the congestions that are caused by those road closures and detours. And motorists have been complaining to us. We are hearing them very well, and we are committing here that we will fast track the construction, the reconstruction of those roads. As a caring government, we acknowledge this and thank motorists for the patience and understanding. Among those projects affected include the N2 in Umgababa, which has been closed completely at some stage, and traffic is being diverted to R103. And N2, Umhlali River Bridge, also shifted and is being attended to by Sanral after the determination by the Honorable Minister of Transport, Honorable Balula, who was accompanied by his executives of the state-owned enterprises that fall under Department of Transport, who actually visited the province and saw for himself the damages that have happened in the province. On the same note, we must commend eThekwini Metro for working speedily to resolve the South Coast Road challenge, where a road providing main access to Umlazi had collapsed. The road was fixed and opened within few days, and other bridges had also collapsed, and they are in a process of fixing those roads. The Bay Head Road is being attended to with agency, as well as this is providing access to the Durban Harbour. Like the President indicated, this is important for the economy of the country and for the continent. Madam Speaker, in total, we have the following projects affected by floods and in the province, including gravel, tar, and bridges that we are in a process of assessing and also planning on how to reconstruct those roads and bridges. Ilembe, there are 274, eThekwini 154, Ugu 121, Mgungundlovu 213, Herikwala 190, Umzinyathi 86, Uthukela 107, Amajuba 64, Zululand 54. Some of those roads were already on our schedule of roads that were supposed to be reconstructed or they were supposed to be refurbished. Madam Speaker, the total cost
Thank you, Honourable
estimation...
Member. Sorry, Honourable Member, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, we will call upon for 10 minutes the leader of the official opposition, the Honorable V.F. Hlabisa, on behalf of Inkatha Freedom Party. Honorable Hlabisa.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable members, and honored guests. Today, we meet in this special sitting of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature as a province in mourning. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to start by expressing the deepest condolences on behalf of the IFP to all families who lost their beloved ones during this tragedy. Our hearts and prayers are with all the people of KwaZulu-Natal who have been directly or indirectly affected by the disastrous floods. We mourn with all families who have lost their beloved ones. We also wish a speedy recovery to all those who are still in different hospitals and healthcare centers. The same message of solidarity goes to all business people, individuals, families, and various sectors of our province who have been the victims of the disastrous floods. Honorable members, it has never happened, at least in this democratic era, that the rains of just 2.5 days to 3 days cause so much destruction to humanity, to property, and to infrastructure. KwaZulu-Natal finds itself plunged into another crisis. Our province was still recovering from the devastations of the COVID-19 pandemic and the shattering effects of the July 2021 civil unrest. Our recovery efforts have now to deal with the effects of the triple disasters happening within a space of just 2 years in succession. The IFP welcomes the responsible decision by the government of South Africa to declare KwaZulu-Natal a national disaster area due to the floods. The kind of damage that this province has suffered was never going to be properly fixed on the basis of a provincial disaster declared by KwaZulu-Natal only. The hard reality, Honorable Premier, is that the announcement of the billions of rands to be injected to KwaZulu-Natal as relief measures, instead of being received with gratitude, it was received by many people with greater cynicism, as many people believe that this money will be stolen by those in power together with their friends. Trust deficit on government is a major challenge that we face as a country. This is no doubt a very challenging time to the leadership of our province. It is a time when unity of purpose will count more than anything else for the benefit of our province. It is a time that calls for more and genuine as well as ethical leadership accompanied by servanthood. This is time when the civil service of our province has to perform their responsibilities and daily activities beyond the call of duty. This is no time to be looking at what is in for me, but this is time to say, let us channel all the resources to our people. This is no time to be eyeing enormous profits at the expense of the people's miseries. This is no time to be looking for political strides and political mileage when people are suffering livelihood losses. This is also no time for political sidelining for want of making political names and political visibility. This is a time to demonstrate Ubuntu and humanitarianism. As leaders of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, this is time to prove ourselves that we have conscience. This is the opportunity to turn misery out of the floods disaster into an opportunity for swiftly uplifting our people and provide them with decent and dignified housing and other services. The IFP expresses great appreciation to humanitarian organizations that have lended a hand to help our people out of their plight and miseries of different situations and hardships. The gift of the givers, the Motsepe Foundation, Colin Mashawa Foundation, Nelson Mandela Foundation receive our appreciation. The IFP also takes this opportunity to salute His Majesty King Misuzulu kaZwelithini and the entire Zulu royal family for the leadership they have provided during this difficult time. The IFP appeals to insurance companies to conduct their services with compassion as they face, as many people will be facing many challenges and could not be able to honor their installments. The government departments that offer services which are key to people's social benefit must also speedily resolve issues of the necessary paperwork in returning situations to normal. Honorable Speaker, we also want to appeal to government not to allow the situation of people housed in community halls and temporal camps to become a normal life as it has happened before. Abnormality of abnormal situations must be quickly returned to normal life. The unfortunate occasion has shown that the issue of climate change is no longer a gospel yet to come, but an occurrence that is already with us. Countries of the world, including South Africa, have been meeting quite often to discuss the coming effects of the climate change and how to best prepare for such eventualities. This is no longer a time to meet and discuss resolutions, but it is a time to implement that which was agreed and will help save the situation. The IFP calls upon the government of our province and all the municipalities in this province to ensure compliance with all the UN mandates of climate change. The declaration of KwaZulu-Natal as a national disaster also means that more financial resources will be directed to this province. As the IFP, we will be vigilant in our oversight role in ensuring that the monies coming to this province are used prudently. We call upon the provincial government to exercise at all times transparency and accountability. Let us all work together to stop corruption even before it starts, other than running after it. The IFP wants to thank all the provinces that supported KwaZulu-Natal during this time of tragedy. In conclusion, we also want to applaud all the personnel in the emergency services, the rescue services, the health workers, the SAPS, the municipal protection services, and disaster management services for their tireless work during this difficult time. Honorable Premier, rest assured, the IFP will give you its full support in turning things around. We are not going to be the armchair critics, but when things go wrong, we will not hesitate to raise our voice. To all the heroes and heroines who lost their lives in service, performing their duties, we pray for their spirits to be rest in perfect peace. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Hlabisa. We now, for 8 minutes, call on Honorable F.A. Rogers on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. Honorable F.A. Rogers.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, let me first of all start off by saying that our province once again faces an almighty challenge. And on behalf of the Democratic Alliance and the people of KwaZulu-Natal, I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to those who've lost loved ones, those who've lost their properties, and those who've in fact lost their businesses. I myself have been on the ground, Madam Speaker, and it's in fact heartbreaking. The MEC was saying that, in fact, it brought one to tears. I met a particular family who'd lost all three their daughters, a young family, all three their daughters and the grandmother had been washed away in a vehicle. Really the most tragic part of this. And we can replace buildings, we can replace infrastructure, but we can't replace lives. So I think we really, in our prayers, need to keep those particular people, and there are lots of them, in our province. But having said that, Madam Speaker, I also think, and I disagree slightly with Honourable Hlabisa, I think now is the time to unite, correct, but now is also the time to identify where the weaknesses are. And I think there are weaknesses, and unless we address those weaknesses, we're actually not going to attend or address the crisis that still faces us. And there are many thousands of people out there who have no food, no shelter, no accommodation whatsoever, and no water. And we need to immediately address those and put politics aside. But the reality is, since this crisis has started, it's the ANC that's been playing politics. One just needs to look what unfolded after the flood damage with the REC in eThekwini suddenly deciding that the ANC REC in eThekwini was going to be the controlling factor in what was happening in eThekwini. Now, who is the mayor, Mxolisi Kaunda, or is it Zandile Gomede? Is the premier Sihle Zigalala? Who actually is running the ship here? And perhaps the premier needs to tell us. This REC faction in eThekwini that decided they would control everything through their nerve center, is this how we should be operating in our province? Because having been on the ground, Madam Speaker, I've also noticed that there seems to be no central coordination of what's happening. And this was made abundantly clear when the municipal managers recently had a meeting 3 days ago. And they also complained that there seems to be no centralization or coordination of what's going on. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And the Premier indicated that schools have been used as disaster facilities. And I was at one yesterday, a primary school in eThekwini that had been used on the first day of the disaster. But the disaster management team placed these people in the school and then walked away. 8 days later, they're still there. They're not being fed. They're not getting water. The school can't operate. There's men, women, and children living together. Who is coordinating this? Who's putting it all together? And to me, that's where the problem is. If we want to deal with this, we need to know who and how things are being coordinated. I wrote to the Premier on Saturday, again calling him to engage with the provincial leaders of all the parties. He returned my call yesterday, 3 days later. I mean, is that being serious about the crisis that's facing our province? I certainly don't think so. And then the other thing I've noticed, Madam Speaker, is I've been on the ground now for a good few days, and there's no police presence. I come across roads and bridges that have been washed away. There's absolutely no Metro Police around. There's no barricades warning people that the road has washed away. In fact, in some areas in Chatsworth, the community themselves are manning those bridges that are impassable. There's just no police presence. There's no Metro Police presence. The only Metro Police I saw were those that were with the president's cavalcade on the N3 the day I was in Durban. And it's unacceptable. Again, it's just an absolute lack of coordination. If one looks at the disastrous rollout of water tankers in eThekwini, That also seems to have been captured. There seems to be no system in place. Again, we asked eThekwini, could the executive members of the eThekwini Council be given a briefing every morning of what's going to happen in the rollout of the water tankers? Nothing. Zero, zilch. And we just get these continual stories of certain wards being taken care of and not others. Now, I'm glad to hear the Premier's talking about the relief funding, and I certainly support it. But, you know, actions speak louder than words, Madam Speaker. And maybe what we should do is, if we're going to deviate from the normal principle of allocating these projects, then perhaps we need to publicize which companies are getting contracts. Make it public. If we want to talk transparency, let's be open, let's be transparent, and then everybody in the province can see who exactly is getting the work and getting it done. The Premier is also right about climate change, Madam Speaker. It is a problem. But the problem again is we're not taking cognizance of it, because if we were, we'd be putting more money and more systems and more capacity into our disaster management systems. But disaster management becomes a side issue until there's a crisis, and we've just seen that now. Now, finally, Madam Speaker, the elephant in the room that we have to address, and that's the water tanker issue with the Premier. Now, I'm led to believe that on SAFM this morning, he apologized and said he had phoned and organized that water tanker. Now, I ask myself, a Premier, a leader of this province, who actually spun a story to say that it was a load of nonsense, and then says, no, I'm sorry, I did arrange it. I have a fundamental problem with that. If you're going to lead this province, then you need to lead by example, and I certainly don't believe that is by example. So if the Premier wants to be a leader, my suggestion, Madam Speaker, is that he steps aside and that he allows an independent investigation of what actually took place with this water tanker issue, because it not only embarrasses the Premier, it embarrasses all of us who represent this provincial government. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Rogers. We will now move for 6 minutes on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters to the Honorable A.V. Khoza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ngibingelele somlomo, ngibingelele bonke ozakwethu abakhona la, ngibingelele nabundunankulu. Madam Speaker, siyaye nanela inkulumo.
Honorable Khoza, switch your video on.
Madam Speaker, it affects the quality of the network because I'm in rural areas.
You will do as per the practice that you show your face, but you must remember that you also request prior permission to do that. But for today, show your face and then you continue with your debate, Honorable Member.
Madam Speaker, can I do that in the meantime?
Honorable Khoza.
Yes, Speaker.
I hope you understand that it's your time. We're not going to stop the stopwatch because you are reading yourself. Show your face. Table staff, the watch will not be stopped for that. Show your face.
Madam Speaker, can you see me now?
We won't see you for as long as there is no photo of you. Yes, we can see you now.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, because I'm in the rural areas, sometimes the voice quality gets affected if the video is on from experience. But nonetheless, let me carry on with the business of you will do as Madam Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can switch it off now.
Yes,
because we have ascertained that it's you speaking.
Some love. No, thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to acknowledge the speech by the Premier. I want to start by saying that we want to convey our condolences as the economic freedom fighters to the families of those that lost their lives. I want to also state that it is a sad moment for the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But we need to put this disaster into its proper perspective. We need to ask ourselves who is responsible primarily for this disaster. The ANC government is primarily responsible for this disaster. Why are we saying that as the economic freedom fighters? It is because of landlessness, because the ANC has perpetually and continuously refused to expropriate land without compensation and take land from thieves. It has forced our people to build houses in riverbanks, in floodplains, in places that are unstable, in slopy land. Not because our people do not realize that this is dangerous. It's because they have no option. And the ANC has failed our people, and ANC must take responsibility for the more than 500 lives that have been lost. Nonetheless, we want to say that we thank the organizations that have intervened and made sure that we have a situation that seeks to alleviate the plight of our people. I want to call upon business and particularly the private sector to come forward. We appreciate donations by organizations like Mr. Motsepe. However, we have not seen much from private capitalists, business practitioners coming forward and contributing. They must put their mouth where they must put the money where their mouth is. The national government has rightfully declared this a national disaster, which therefore releases more resources. But I'm not confident that, as the EFF, that those resources will be put to good use. If these ANC cadres could steal money meant for funerals, what will stop them from stealing money meant for disasters? For instance, in Somno, we haven't had water for more than a week. And even when tankers come around, they choose where they go. There are communities that are completely ignored for the last 5, 6, 7 days, when there are areas that are perpetually flooded with water. That is one thing that must come to an end. However, I'm not sure if we are going to be able to win that battle, particularly if we have a premier that has got private supply, direct supply of water tankers and water to his house. Here's a concrete proposal from us, Somlom, given the disaster. We are proposing as the EFF that a multi-party committee be established ASAP that will oversee the expenditure of the disaster relief funds. We can't leave it in the hands of ANC politicians and officials that are ANC employees. Wherever there's ANC, there'll be looting. We want to propose, secondly, that given the amount of people that were displaced and lost their houses in eThekwini, there's a Bridge City project that is that is in the process. We are proposing that all the people that are displaced in eThekwini, instead of being forced to continue to stay in those halls, they must be prioritized for the Bridge City project. So those are the two proposals that we are putting forward solidly. One, that a multi-party committee be established to oversee on a day-to-day basis the disbursement of the funds meant for this disaster. Secondly, that the homeless of eThekwini be prioritized for the Bridge City project. And it is through that intervention, Somlom, that we are going to say, indeed, what the Premier is saying.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your time has expired. We now, on behalf of the National Freedom Party, call upon Honorable C.M. Shinga for 2 minutes.
Honorable Speaker and Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable Members and guests. The NFP wishes to pass and convey its message of sympathy and condolences to the victims of floods. God be with them through this triumph time. As we acknowledge and appreciate the donations being made by government, the business sector, NPOs, CBOs, and NGOs and political parties in trying to assist the victims of this horrible tragedy. Disaster is a natural cause and God's call, and nobody can have control over it. But it is an eye-opener and a wake-up call to us as government to monitor and evaluate construction and engineering work given to our tender entrepreneurs. Honorable Speaker, the NFP, we want to call for an open research and debate on climate and pollution and its effects and impact on nature and infrastructure, so that its findings can be used to empower and educate our people. Furthermore, we call for extensive increase on mobile services such as water tankers, mobile clinic, roving social development services, especially SASA, and social workers to be deployed to provide urgent counseling to the victims in their respective places. SANDF engineers be deployed to assist in special areas. We all have a role to play, Honorable Speaker, and we need not to politicize the situation, but we have to be united to assist our needy communities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Shinga. Now, for 8 minutes, I will call upon the MEC for Human Settlements and Public Works, the Honorable N.M. Sibia, on behalf of the ANC. MEC.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi sithole ithuba lokuba ingxenye yale debate yanamhlanje. Honorable Speaker, we dip our heads as we mourn so much tragedy, an enormous loss of life. The Premier has said it all, and correctly so, that this is unprecedented. This is a catastrophe that has hit our province in a very devastating manner. We remain determined as this government of the day, led by Premier Honorable Zigalala and President Cyril Ramaphosa, that through it all, ours is to provide solutions and bring change and normality back to the lives of our people. Our resolve is that speed and efficiency should anchor our intervention, as we all know that our people can't wait forever to be assisted. They need assistance today. We are alive with the reality that is on the ground and what is affecting our people. The impact will be long-lasting and it will change many people's lives, as we have seen what has happened. The trauma and the loss of life is too much. The impact on the lives of our people is hard to believe. The pain is too much to comprehend. To all our people, we wish to say, no matter how dark the night can be, but the sun shall rise tomorrow. No matter how big the storm can be, but the sun will continue to rise tomorrow, and the storm will end. We have hit the ground running since the disaster happened. We haven't rested a single day, Honorable Speaker. The Premier has marshaled all of us as the province to move with speed in implementing all the plans that have been put in place. We are about to hit the ground as of this weekend in building for our people. Speaker, maybe before I continue, ngiyacabanga ukuthi kuyafuneka si-attend ezinye izinto. Yabona uma sikhuluma ngokuthi isikhathi sokuthi lethi sonke we must be united in the province and make sure that we help abantu bakithi esimeni ababhekene naso. Ngicabanga ukuthi kufanele sikuphile lokho sikwenze. La kule debate mawulalela abantu bakhulume into yokuthi let us unite and make sure that we work together for the interest of our people. But just halfway through what they've said, they coming back and use the debate and the space of this disaster as the political playing field where they are grandstanding and see they want to play at the gallery using some political undertones and very, very wrong political statements that you see that to them, it's about political point scoring. And I don't think that is correct. And I think our people see who are these people. and they see them for who they are. Because at any opportunity that they get, for them, it's about point scoring, it's about opportunism, it's about politics. And as this government of the ANC, we are very clear that we are not going to enter into political space and gamble with the lives of our people, because for them, lives of our people don't matter. What matters is just to lie and say condolences and say all these things that they are with them. But what matters to them is to damage the name of the ANC, is to paint the ANC as this failing government, but they are putting nothing in the table that is a solution that can help our people. All they want to leave is a picture that how bad the ANC is. And I don't think that we've got correct opposition parties. Well, I can't say it's all of them. It's some of the parties that have been debating here that you can see that to them, it's nothing, but it's a space again to continue politicizing everything, to continue putting blame and pointing fingers at other people. And we don't think as the ANC and the government that is leading this province is what we should do. We don't want to lower ourselves to that level. It's sickening how some of the members are saying, what are they saying here? Honorable Rogers has just entered the space of politics and nothing else. He is just gambling with the lives of our people. He is saying nothing except saying that the ANC is bad, the Premier, it's like he's saying the Premier just cares about himself. While we know very well that the Premier has explained what happened, has gone out there without hiding or running away. He has explained everything that happened, and that matter has been put to rest. And we know once in our culture, but also the Premier has said it deep down from his conscience that he apologized for what happened, but he explained exactly what happened. And we believe that matter must never be used for wrong reason, because the Premier was never undermining anyone in the area where the water tanker went to. It was a matter of that there is no water, not only in the Premier's household, because it shouldn't be looked as if the Premier was just self-serving. I think it's very, very wrong for anyone to do that. It continues to the situation that we see where municipal workers are insulted every day and government workers are insulted every day, being called thieves while they are doing their work, ferrying foodstuffs and other stuffs from different areas. And some people are using that to record videos and saying they are stealing food, they are stealing donations and everything, something that is not there. And I believe we must be honest with our people. Kuyafuneka ukuthi sibuyeke ukufuna ukuqamba amanga kuyona yonke into esiyenzayo, sifuna ukusebenzisa ithuba elifana naleli la abantu bakithi behlelwe khona inhlekelele, sifuna ukusebenzisa inhlekelele ekutheni sigaine ukuthi abantu basibone siwongcwele noma singcono. Upremier ukusho kwacaca and iANC kusho kuyacaca, sonke siyazi ukuthi asikho esimeni la okuzothiwa kule nhlekelele kufanele kube nemali elahlekayo khona. Siyavumelana sonke ukuthi akukho nesent okufanele kungaziwa ukuthi lishonephi. Kufakwe u-AG, u-treasurer uyingxenye, zonke ama-system afakiwe azolekelela ekutheni kugadwe noma kungathiwa kwenzakalani, kungabi bikho imali ephuma eceleni. Lokhu kukutshengisa ngokusobala ukuthi ugovernment nohulumeni okhona namhlanje uyaqonda ukuthi ufuna ukushintsha isimo kube isimo abantu bakithi abazokwazi ukubona ukuthi imali yabo yonke iyakubona. Akuzoba khona ezinye izinto ezintsha ezingenziwa ezinkulu, kodwa okubalekile ukuthi sonke sazi ukuthi njengoba sila icabinet kaNdunankulu, uNdunankulu usitshele sonke ukuthi imali nemali kufanele sazi ukuthi yephi, isenti nesenti kufanele sazi ukuthi lephi. Indaba yokuthi umhlaba siyavumelana ukuthi abantu bakithi bakhe endaweni ezinye ezingezinhle, kodwa again we are really politicking, and I don't think it's correct. It's the very same EFF that failed to vote on Section 25 amendment and to vote for our people to own land because they want the state to own land. Why we said our people, they must own land. And today they are becoming hypocrites. That's the kind of opposition we are having in this province. It's the opposition that is grandstanding. It's an opposition of liars. I still say it again, not all of them. But we have liars who will come in at any given moment, use the space to continue telling our people lies and making promises that are not going to be achieved. So it's this ANC that is busy right now. We'll be having a meeting with the two ministers, Public Works, National and Human Settlements. We've identified a number of pockets of land in eThekwini municipality where we're going to be moving our people from floodplains, from bank of the river banks and all those areas. We are prioritizing our people who are in halls, and we're making sure that by this weekend, We're hitting the ground. We're building temporary units that are of good quality, that these members who are here knows very well. By the way, the project in Bridge City, it's not a project that you can intervene with it now. Even if you want to do it, it's impossible. It's not a project that we are going to complete now. Our people need houses today, not tomorrow. They need shelter today, not tomorrow. So let's stop grandstanding and making as if we feel the pain of our people while we are playing gimmicks.
Honorable MEC, Honorable MEC, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The next speaker for 2 minutes on behalf of the Minority Front is the Honorable Esther Rajbanzi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The MF offers condolences to those families who have lost loved ones. Thank you, Honorable Premier, for the statement. Honorable members, one of the objectives of the DORA Act is flexibility in responding to emergencies. While the legislative mandates of the national is infrastructure development, provinces, roads and housing, and municipalities, water sanitation, electrical reticulation, and roads. The 1 billion rand given to KwaZulu-Natal must be ring-fenced and overseen by a multi-party ad hoc committee for 1 year to ensure that this money is properly used. As can be seen, all three spheres of government have failed us along the line. On the backdrop of the 2019 storm disaster, which was only 1/3 of the severity of the current one. The Nature Geoscience Journal of December 2021 published a UKZN study that revealed that further tropical cyclones could hit KwaZulu-Natal in the future. The MF had stated in 2019 storm disaster debate that the Planning Commission needs to work with our academia. Municipalities need to set up a full-time disaster management unit with contingency funds overseen by multi-party and departmental representatives. A skills audit needs to be done in municipalities, human settlements, public works, and conservation. The MF welcomes the moving of dwellers away from the floodplains. The MF has asked for green specialists to be appointed to the climate change agent for KZN to account for climate change monies that have been received. Currently, danger chevrons for markers need to be erected on affected structures. Honourable Premier, the Honourable President is everyone's president, but a multi-party delegation was excluded in his visit. We must not politicize the storm disaster. Apart from this, councillors who are closest to the people, some of them are aggressive and arrogant. The Ward 25 councillor has to be called in before the ethics committee, and he must be suspended for 2 years for his bad behavior towards the community in their time of need.
Honorable Rajbanzi, thank you. The next speaker for 2 minutes on behalf of the ATM is the Honorable M.E. Phakathi.
Somlomo, Ndunankulu, amalunga ahloniphekileyo eshaso kwamthetho KwaZulu-Natal. Siqale njenge-ATM sidlulisa amazwi enduduzo kubona bonke abalahlekele. Yebo isona isikhathi esimbi KwaZulu-Natal lo, kodwa siqale ngokubonga Ndunankulu Khuze umsebenzi osuwenzile kuzofika kulesi sikhathi lapho sibona nihamba phansi nizama ukwenza impilo zabantu bakithi zibe ngcono. Asiphinde sivumelane ke Somlomo ngento yokuthi lesi sikhathi akusona isikhathi sokuthi senze sizibonise ukuthi ipolitiki yethu istrong kangakanani, kodwa isikhathi sokuthi sihlangane sibumbane sibe munye sikwazi ukulwisana nalokuhlupheka kwabantu bakithi. Ngibona ke abantu abaningi lapha abekhuluma befuna ukuveza nokuthi abantu bahlele endaweni ezimbi. Cha, abantu bahlele endaweni ezimbi njengoba phela sivela obandlululweni la sasinikezwe indawo ezimbi thina njengabantu abamnyama. Indawo ezingcono ziya kubelungu. Ngamanje futhi abaningi abelungu abaaffectekile kulento abantu bakithi abamnyama. So umuntu angakhulumi nje kakhulu akhuluma ukuthanda kwakhe kuba kwabantu bakithi esibazwela ubuhlungu acabanga ukuthi thina simbone ukuthi ufuna ukwenza ukuthi yena aphathizwe ngabantu bakithi ekhuluma amanga. Asikhulume iqiniso elisobala ukuthi funa sihlangane sibe munye sibambane senze lokhu Premier kushilo ukuthi imali azingahambi ngoba azintshontsho ama-politicians kuphela imali kodwa zintshontsho nayilabo akuyibona abasebenzayo. Sibagadileke sonke asiphumeni senze proper oversight. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next member On behalf of the ACDP for 2 minutes is the Honorable Bishop S.E. Manqele. Honorable Manqele, or the Honorable Kwala. Honorable Manqele.
Speaker.
Show your face, my bishop. Honorable.
We urge those who have means to do the same. Hence, there is a lot to help in this period. Many thanks also could be given to the Premier and his team, who has already done a lot of work to consolidate our people. As ACDP, we like to urge the government, more especially the provincial government, to develop a clear plan on how the donate funds will be utilized. It is not good that some of the organizations has even trying to avoid it, to put their donation to the government because of the irregular expenditures by the officials of the government. The issue of those who want to utilize this opportunity for personal gain and to enrich themselves, we rebuke it. If the issue of Mrs. Knight in Virgin Airport in Durban is the truth, that issue is really uncalled for. As ACDP, siyafisa ukuthi kube khona ukubambisana, abantu besizakale, ukuze kuliwe nesimo esibhekene naso. Amaphaphu-ke phansi, asinikezeni uNkulunkulu ithuba uzokusilekelela, but nathi sidinga sibe yinto eyodwa ukuze uNkulunkulu ekwazi ukuba nathi. Thank you so much, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable S.E. Manqele. We will now call upon for 12 minutes on behalf of the African National Congress, the MEC for Etia, the Honorable R.R. Pillay.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and greetings to the Premier and the Honorable MPLs, all of whom are present, and any other attendees. Speaker, may I also start, like everyone else, with conveying deepest sympathies and condolences to families, friends, and communities of those who have lost loved ones. We share the pain and additional trauma of those who search for loved ones who are still missing. Indeed, Premier, the damage has been horrific, a scale one cannot really comprehend until one sees it. The loss of lives, the loss of homes, the damaged water infrastructure, which is probably the biggest single issue we have to face with, damage to electrical infrastructure following not far behind, damage to sanitation infrastructure, and of course, the road networks and departmental infrastructure. But it's important for us to approach it in an informed way with a common understanding. As the President articulated, we have an emergency response phase, we then have a stabilization phase, and then we have a rebuild and recovery phase. Some of these phases will overlap, but it's important to understand it for purposes of prioritizing our responses and the use of limited resources. Let me use the opportunity to just respond to a couple of the debaters in this important debate. Let me appreciate the very sober, I think, input of the Honorable Shlabisa, who spoke in a patriotic way and clearly wants to add value to the response. And but Honorable Rogers, I think I must disagree with you in part. The call for unity, the call for togetherness gets undermined when there isn't a consistent approach to issues. Firstly, let me say that there is indeed a very tight coordination, not perfect. The Premier is the one who's driving it. I can assure you that the energy that you see in a whole range of fronts, I would argue, is almost solely due to the Premier's daily, hourly driving of all of us, including civil society and including national government sectors. He set up and insisted that the interministerial committee of the disaster in the province meets every day to receive reports and give direction and direct resources to where it is the most necessary. Of course, there's also a JOC, which is chaired by the head of department of COCTA and the provincial commissioner. I disagree that the police have not been active. I think they've mobilized additional resources. Yes, they will not be able to be seen everywhere simply because of the scale of the disaster, but they have been present. I have seen them. I particularly applaud their response to the 2 or 3 looting incidents, 2 in Amlazi, where 11 people were immediately arrested and set the kind of example that we want to see. So too with the ShopRite truck on the N2. We applaud you, the Commissioner and his team for that work. Let me say also that the Premier has tried to visit every family that has lost multiple members and has been very consistent every day in doing this work. The family you referred to, Honorable Rogers, was visited by the Premier himself. I accompanied him. It was the Siv-Narayan family in Tongat that lost the grandmother and three children. But that example as well is indicated the extraordinary nature of this disaster. So this grandmother went from her home to pick up the 3 children. And when she crossed the bridge to go there was no issue. A few minutes later, in returning and crossing the same bridge, the vehicle was swept away. That shows you the speed with which the disaster struck, the accumulation of water which surged and caused the kind of damage it did. Also, the Honorable Khoza, I must respectfully disagree with your input, but I suppose it's something to be expected. Let's say that business has been contributing. They have been contributing to many civil society organizations, ABSA, Distel, the Motsepa Foundation, amongst a few. But it's a bit rich coming from the EFF to play a holier than thou attitude when you still have to explain your VBS legacy. But let's come back to the crux of the matter. MEC Mshengu is currently busy with Minister Mochega visiting schools and attending to issues. The damage has been significant. 630 schools affected, 101 bridges affected by bridges and roads where there's no access. In the Pinetown district, it's 205. Umlazi district, it's 100. In Ugu, it's 175. 402 of those schools are primary schools. But they are prioritizing and responding accordingly. They're busy procuring 98 mobile classrooms, which they will then allocate to those schools that are needed. My understanding is that 7 schools were used as relief centers, and there was a deliberate targeted program where each of those schools were attended to, and with the help of DST and COCTA and human settlements, those families were relocated. There was one where there was a delay. There was a Pemery Ridge school where the classrooms there were vacant anyway, and the families were staying there. They're near an informal settlement, but even there attempts are being made to have them relocated. Just to give you an indication on the school side, Ugu, with regard to the mobile classrooms, Ugu is 9, Harigwala 4, Pinetown 40, and Amlazi 45, giving you a total of 98 mobile classrooms. With regard to economic impact, clearly this is going to be considerable, and it's in the main the water, electricity, and roads that has the parallel, or rather the consequent impact on the ability of businesses to function. But even then, we are pleased to report that on the port, for example, you will recall that the port was closed for a day, but there's been a very, very quick recovery. There was even a threat to security of fuel supply, and this was largely by the wash away of what is called the Bay Head bridge. But there's been an amazing effort by all stakeholders to reconstruct and stabilize and create an improvised access. This is a road that takes almost 1,300 trucks a day, sometimes in and out of the port. We are pleased to report that fuel supply has been restored, and there has been no crisis as it was at one point threatened. The more difficult problem is going to be the rail network between the port and just before Cato Ridge. It's a 56-kilometer stretch of rail that has been seriously damaged in many spaces. We did a site inspection yesterday with both the Minister of Public Enterprises and the Minister of DTIC. There's a company already appointed that is going to start that rehabilitation, but we're going to have a serious interim process to transfer that rail stock by road to the port. Of course, the Durban South Basin has been heavily affected by flooding. Toyota, who've been working closely with, is closed, but not closed as in closed operations. They stopped production in order to facilitate their recovery. They were heavily flooded with mud throughout the production center. They probably will take a month before they can recover fully and restore production. We are pleased to report that the Minister of Small Business was also in the province, Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, and she has undertaken, as you would have read or seen in the media, to put together a package of relief for small businesses. She also, together with the team from ETIA, visited small farmers, one in KwaDuguza, where we saw the damage to the infrastructure on the farms that's preventing access to different parts of the farm to be able to reap crops and transport or simply to service those farms. In one section, there's about 5 hectares that was completely washed away. Newly planted cane was completely washed away. So these are the cases that we will devise relief packages for. On the tourism sector, it's really tragic. We were really hoping to bounce back with a bumper Easter. We had a very good January, February, and March, and a lot of work was done to build up to a bumper Easter. Understandably, that was not possible, and we expect our occupancy rate to be about 45%. Some areas like the Drakensberg, some of our facilities in Zimvelo, and some of our big hotels have actually had good occupancies at around 70%, but the overall average is likely to be about 45%. In those hotels in Durban which did not have water supply, we were able to generate some supply for them. There was only one hotel that we know of whose infrastructure would not allow a tankard supply, and they decided to transfer their guests to other facilities. But I'm confident that our attributes as a province, in terms of our 600 kilometers of coastline, our very resilient tourism sector, the Drakensberg, our nature reserves, our World Heritage sites, make us a compelling destination, and we're busy already starting to rebuild to a successful July vacation. Early next month, we will be having 2 major events at the ICC, that's the Tourism Indaba. We're working hard to make sure that happens, and the United Nations Child Labor Conference, both of which will have thousands of delegates, which will also help us to protect our brand and build our brand to what we know it to be. On the environmental side, we've already begun to do a fair amount of work. I think we must understand this correctly. Yes, there is the climate change issue. That's a bigger issue as the national response and our contribution to the international response. It's only a collective international effort that's going to have an impact on climate change. But in terms of adapting to climate change, they're already looking at the issues of EIAs. Again, it's at 2 levels. It's the EIAs to fast track for purposes of disaster recovery. MEC Jomo Sibiya requires quick decision making for his temporary residential accommodation. But on the other hand, for the bigger, longer term projects, we will look at EIAs being compatible with climate change conditions. I think the stormwater drainage issue is something that we need to look at. I saw for myself in very vivid detail, and it was explained to me by people at the coalface, as the extent to which debris,
Honorable MEC.
let me conclude then, Chair, with just thanking all those, including civil society.
Honorable MEC. Thank you. Your time has expired. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We now, honorable members, have, in terms of the speakers list, finalized the list of names that were submitted by parties to participate. And it is time to, in terms of the roll call upon, the Honorable Premier S. Zigalala to respond to the debate. You have 10 minutes, Honorable Premier.
Only, Nje. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. I think, firstly, I would like to welcome all colleagues who have managed or who have contributed in this debate, all honorable members. I will fully concur with Honorable Nkonyeni that as we go forward, we will need to ensure that the infrastructure we put in place is solid and we ensure that it is taking into cognizance the future, which is characterized by challenges of climate change and other challenges. Honorable Hlabisa, I wish to thank you dearly. Your spirit, the words you've presented brings hope. Indeed, we should be together during this time. Your call that they must be transparent, we take that call serious. The call that we should do more work on climate change, I think it is serious. Hence, we have the Council on Climate Change, and we will need to improve on that. Honorable Rogers, I welcome your input. Now, the first, with regard to eThekwini and having the command center or operational center, the problem is you take issues of councils and you want to grandstand with them here. There is one operational center, one disaster center in eThekwini, and if you would like, we can take you there. Maybe you wouldn't. You have never been there because the disaster does not affect your interest. I would want also to explain this issue you have raised. I did speak to SAFM, but let me explain the matter in detail. From last year, I reside, let me give the background. I reside in Lamisi as a migrant worker, but my home is in Ndwedwe. So I've got a councillor in Ndwedwe. I assist them on development, but I'm not hands-on because there's a councillor. I've got a house in Lamisi, which is adjacent to the mosque and the hall. From last year, the Lamisi Resident Association came to me with a petition. And from there, I convened a meeting with them, brought relevant department and the municipality. It was not for the first time that the community of Lamisi asked me to get the water tanker for them. I've been getting for them water tankers, pleading with the municipality. And then this time, I wasn't at home, I was at church in Newcastle. Then they delivered water. They delivered water to my house. And when the Lamisi Association, Resident Association, engaged me on that, I sincerely apologized to them and told that it will not happen again. But why I've got myself organizing water? I'm not organizing water for the people in Ndwedwe. I'm organizing water for the people in Lamisi because there's a councillor who's absent. There's a councillor called Geoff Pulani or Pulen. He is a councillor in Ward 58. He represents DA. He is nowhere. Now, At the hall across my house, there are people who are staying there. My family provided food for them on Sunday. On Monday, former councillor of eThekwini, Loki Naidu, former speaker, provided food. We provide them food. We cook at homes and provide food. The councillor doesn't know those people. He has not been there. Now, I didn't want to get into politics, but because you wanted to politicize that matter, I thought I should give you facts. The person who should be providing water is absent, is nowhere. Maybe because he stays somewhere in another affluent area where he's enjoying all benefits. Honorable Khoza, I think we have been honest enough, pledged to be transparent. So I don't believe that you can grandstand and just accuse ANC of stealing as if there is anything which have happened and the ANC have not acted. You have been very opportunistic when it comes to policy matters, and we are the last to speak on the issue of land. You betray hopes of South Africans when we all needed you as the EFF to vote in favor of amendment of section 25. Now you come here, grandstand. You are the one who are conniving in various municipalities with those people who continue to benefit from historical injustices, including the land question, where farms in particular are still owned by whites. Most of them are coming from the DA, which govern municipalities together with EFF. Honorable Shinga, I think you are correct. We wish to welcome the call for a research on climate change, and that more role players must be brought together. Honorable Takul Rajpans, we will follow up on the issue of the Council of Ward 25, as you have raised, in the context of the DDM, and engage the municipality to deal with the issue. Honorable Pagati, I cannot agree with you more on the issue you have raised about the land that were taken from Africans and the fact that that's still impacting on us. Honorable Spear, I think you have characterized the kind of the opposition, especially, we must be honest, not all opposition parties are opportunistic, but in particular, the Democratic Alliance and the EFF. You have also detailed the interventions, the fact that already there are projects that are earmarked to assist the victims and unpacking those plans. And I think you are correct. We must thank the move that the Minister of Housing, of Human Settlement, have adopted in this regard. Honorable Mangele, we welcome your comment, and we will want to pledge that we'll continue to do all we can to ensure that we cushion people of KwaZulu-Natal from this devastation. Honorable Pillay, you are correct on economic upliftment and the initiatives that have been taken. I think what we must also add, we must applaud eThekwini for the fact that a bridge collapsed, and within 7 days it was built, not even 7 days, 5 days, built, and a bridge of a high quality. These are things we must also appreciate. I don't think we must only criticize local government. Where they do well, we must applaud them. I must say, as the province, we are also comforted by messages we get, including those that come from different countries and from embassies that are in South Africa. One of those was Switzerland. And one of the things that they've been doing with us was to fund a project that seeks to support governance, research, and building capacity of local officials within Ilembe. And we want to thank such initiatives. We thank countries like Egypt, Singapore, and all others that have been calling or calling and making pledges to support us and solidarity. I think, Honorable Speaker, we're concluding the debate empowered by various contributions from all political parties. We should act together. This is not time to politicize. It is not time to sideline any other people on the basis of politics, but it's time for all of us to come together. We thank His Majesty the King for being with us during this time as well. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Thank you, honorable members of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. I understand that now we've come to the end of the debate on the report that was brought by the Premier. It will be prudent of me to remind the honorable members of this House of what we said at the beginning of COVID-19, that true leadership will be that will rise even during the time of crisis. We have, on behalf of all of you, as the Office of the Speaker, noted that you continue all in your different parties to rise up to the call of leadership that is needed by this time. But I think we must add today that our ability to rise up to the call of leadership will not be noticed by us, nor will we be the ones that will stand at the corners of roads to shout that we have led. But the people will acknowledge our leadership by having witnessed the Legislature of KwaZulu-Natal being amongst them and with them at their time of need. And it is then in that regard, honorable members, that in response to the flood disaster that has engulfed the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and having seen the plan that the government has put in place to mitigate that, the legislature had to revise its program for this week. To this end, we first started with having this sitting today, but also the Rules and Program Committee workshop, which was scheduled for the 21st and the 22nd of April, that is Thursday and Friday, had to be postponed. This is to allow the legislature, whilst we understand that in your capacity as public representatives and members from your various parties that make this House have been on the ground with the people that you lead. But now as the legislature to undertake an institutional oversight visit to the areas worst affected by floods. Also to ensure that what has been presented here is happening and we are staying true to our constitutional mandate of oversight of the work of the executive. We have also been made aware that there is a provincial prayer organized by government and the various stakeholders, scheduled for tomorrow in Durban. And members of the House have been invited by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal to attend that official prayer. We would then want to give honorable members an opportunity to be part of the provincial prayer. But immediately thereafter, the prayer, or at a time to be indicated in communication with the whips, 5 teams consisting of between 6 and 10 members will then be deployed for tomorrow in eThekwini to conduct an assessment of the damage. Furthermore, The administration team of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature, working with party caucuses, will advise members of their respective deployments for tomorrow, including Friday, where on Friday teams will be going to the other districts that have been affected. The administration will speak, I must iterate, with party caucuses through your whips to ensure that the deployment is considered according to the wishes of parties, because it is a multi-party oversight visit there. On Friday, we will have the 5 teams going to King Cetshwayo district, Umgungundlovu, Uthukela, Ugu, and Ilembe. Also to ensure that there is no part that is reported to be heavily affected that is not visited. Of course, we might have seen that in the public space, because media can easily access the metro, but also because the majority of the people of KwaZulu-Natal, in terms of States SA and the IEC, they reside in the metro. But as a legislature, we are the legislature of the entire province. So we have to go to all the districts that are affected to be with our people and ensure that what is said to be happening here is actually happening. The rest of the oversight work will also be continued by the respective portfolio committees, including the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, which becomes responsible in terms of our roles of the spending and accountability thereafter. But all portfolio committees of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature will continue with their work to ensure that their departments, the respective departments, do things according to the Public Finance Management Act and also do things as per the announcement of government. Members, you will be advised, of course, during the course of today, in which teams you have been deployed to and who are the team leaders. But a briefing to all members will be conducted then this afternoon on the virtual platform, MS Teams, so that when we go tomorrow, we all know where we are going and the exact time of departure for those that would have attended the provincial prayer. That is the announcement that we are making regarding this matter that we have debated, honorable members. Before I close, I will check with the Premier if there are still no announcements that would be made from the office of the Premier. Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The only announcement is the emphasis that all members of the House are invited and requested to join the prayer tomorrow, as we will be remembering and praying for healing of the families that have been left victimized by this catastrophe. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
In respect of the order paper, honorable members, we have come to the end of today's special sitting. All that is left is for all of us to go forth and represent the public that have chosen us to represent. The House is adjourned.
Thank
you, Honorable Speaker.
Makubela.